Hi students, for today's class we will move into a new chapter. We're going to look into optics and lights, and the first section of this chapter talks about the reflection atau pantulan menggunakan cermin ya. So mirror ni boleh dibahagikan kepada tiga jenis. Okay, three types of mirror, which is the plane mirror, convex mirror and concave mirror, ataupun cermin sata, cermin cekung dan cermin cembung. Okay, now remember, anything that occurs by using a mirror, that's exactly a process of reflection atau pantulan ya. So before we even go detail, let me give you one very important information. Okay, whenever you are using any mirror, whenever you are using a mirror concept, okay, whenever you are using a mirror, let's say we have a mirror here, okay, whenever we have a mirror here, any image that is formed behind the mirror, apa-apa image yang terbentuk di belakang cermin ya, dia akan dipanggil sebagai image yang maya ya, which is a virtual image. Okay, anything forming behind the mirror is a virtual image ataupun maya, and anything forming in front of the mirror will be a real image. Okay, so always remember that this is a very important concept. Anything forming in front of the mirror is real. Anything forming behind the mirror is virtual. Now, let's move to our first type of the mirror, which is the plane mirror ataupun cermin sata ya. Okay, now, cermin sata, apakah ciri-ciri image yang terbentuk dalam cermin sata? Cermin sata ni cermin yang you see yourself every day in front, right? So the one you see yourself and so on, that's exactly the plane mirror here. Now, first thing, image yang terbentuk is always going to be upright. Okay, always remember the image that is going to be formed here going to be upright ataupun tegak ya. Maksudnya, if you are looking yourself in front of a mirror, of course you're going to look exactly upright. You're not going to be inverted. That is what the first definition here. Now, next thing here, if this is you, okay, if this is you, what happens? Your image is formed behind the mirror. And I did just explain that anything forming behind the mirror, tadi dah kita tengok dah, anything forming behind the mirror adalah image yang maya or an virtual image. So in this case, since your image is forming behind the mirror, therefore image is a virtual image ataupun maya ya. Okay, so that's two things that you need to know. Next thing that you need to know here, the size, yourself and the twin that you form on the screen. Okay, the size always going to be same. Takkanlah you tengok dalam cermin tiba-tiba you nampak lebih gemuk atau lebih pendek sebagainya. Tidak, right? So you're going to be exactly looking alike here. You look like a twin when you're looking at yourself in a normal plane mirror here. So the next thing here you can say it is same size ataupun sama size. That's the third characteristic. Yang keempat, jarak object. It means the distance of you. Okay, that's exactly we call as a u. U adalah the actual distance or the object distance. Okay, object distances. So remember, whenever I use the term u is exactly stands for the object distance. And we also have whatever forming behind. That's what we call as an image distance. I'm going to use the symbol of a v for an image distance. So whenever you see a u and v, always remember u is the object distance from the mirror, whereas v is the image distance from the mirror here. Dan selalunya u dengan v ni selalunya adalah, bukan selalu, it has to be same ya. U is always equals to v. Okay, object distance is always equals to image distance. Okay, now yang terakhir, okay, ciri yang terakhir ni, that what we call as a songsang sisi or laterally inverted. Okay, what we call as a laterally inverted, or in Malay we call it as an songsang sisi. So apa ni songsang sisi ataupun laterally inverted? Very easy. In front of the mirror, if you have a mirror in front of you, just look at the mirror. So let's say you are carrying your right hand here. So let me label this. This guy here is carrying the right hand. Okay, he is carrying the right hand. But how does it looks in the image here, class? Okay, what would happen in the image? Even though you're carrying a right hand, what forms in the image? It looks as though you are carrying a left hand. So that is what meant by laterally inverted ataupun songsang sisi. So these are the five characteristics. Yeah, these are the five characteristics that is formed based on a plane mirror. Now, let's move to a drawing. In this drawing here, we're going to learn how do we draw a ray diagram to show about a formation of an image by using a mirror. So, selalunya, remember we already learned object distance dengan image distance sama ya. U dengan V dia sama. So, katakan I have an object at this point here. I'm going to place my object and I'm going to call this as a O. O here is the object. And on the other end here, I'm going to have my image. I'm going to call that as an I here. And always, as I said, the object distance and the image distance must be equal to each other. Yeah? So make sure you measure and make sure they are equal when you are drawing it. Okay, now. Next thing, that's step number one. Make sure step number one, your object distance and the image distance are equal. Okay. The second step here is for you to draw the reflected ray first. So from the image, what you do here, from the image, draw a straight line. Okay. Draw a straight line. And also on the other end of the eyes. Okay, done. So now, that's the first thing. Second thing that you do, okay, you draw the reflected light ray itself, okay, the ray itself before we move to the third step. On the third step, what happens here? Now, join these two light rays here towards the object. So take the both end from the mirror, get the both ends from the mirror and join it towards the object here. So join it towards the object. And also this one, also join it towards the object. There you go. Done. So now, how do you explain this? What exactly happens? Remember, light ray always travel daripada object, yeah? Okay, so what's going to happen here? The light ray from the object travels towards the mirror. At the mirror, what's going to happen here? The light ray is reflected towards the eyes, yeah? The light ray from the object reflected towards the eyes. However, how do you see the image? Image is seen as a straight line. That is why I'm going to draw a straight line here. Straight line towards the image position. Okay, so this is a straight line that I've drawn and therefore it goes straight. So let's round down this explanation. Point number one. Point number one, light ray from the object reflected towards eye. Point number two, eye sees the image as a straight line. That is all you got to explain here, yeah. Sinar cahaya daripada objek dipantulkan ke arah mata. Mata melihat image secara garis lurus. So that covers everything that you need to know about plane mirror, yeah. And therefore, let's move to the next type of mirror that we're going to look into, which is the concave mirror. Okay, let's move to the next section here. Another type of mirror is a concave mirror. This is the curved mirror ataupun dalam bahasa Melayu kita panggil sebagai cermin cekung, ya, cermin cekung. Now, first of all, let's look on the characteristics that related to concave mirror ataupun cermin cekung, ya. So the first one is the shape itself. So how do you draw the shape? Okay, let's say if you have an object here, okay, for a concave mirror ataupun cermin cekung, the curve for the concave mirror ataupun cermin cekung, the curve of the mirror is facing the object. If this is my object here, the curve will be as though facing the object. Then this is exactly called as an concave mirror. Yeah, it's as though you are going inside a cave. This is you standing here, and therefore as though you are going into the cave. Can you see? Okay, so as though you are going inside a cave, it's like muncung ke dalam. Yeah, of course it's curved, but towards in. The name is concave mirror here. Okay, that's the first thing on the shape. Next one here. There are a few points that you need to know in drawing of concave mirror. Okay, the first thing here, whenever you are drawing any concave mirror here, there are a few points that you need to know. The first one is the focal point, okay, what we call as a focal point, the F point. And apakah definasi focal point ataupun fokus utama ni? Focus point ataupun focal point here is a point on a principal axis. Remember, this is your principal axis here. This axis here is called as an principal axis. Okay, now, before we go detail on different characteristics of concave mirror, let's look certain sections which is important in drawing a ray diagram in a concave mirror ataupun cermin cekung. Yang pertama ni, garis di tengah yang garis hitam yang is drawn in the middle here, this is exactly the principal axis, okay, ataupun paksi utama So remember, this line here is the principal axis ataupun paksi utama. And the point where the principal axis touches the mirror, we call this as the pole of the mirror ataupun kutub cermin. Pole of the mirror ataupun kutub cermin. So remember these 2 points here. Next thing here is what we call as a F and a C. Let me define what is exactly an F point here. F stands for the focal point. Focal point ataupun fokus utama. Okay, so what is exactly focal point? Focal point is a point on the principal axis. Look at that. Where does the focal point is placed? It's exactly on the black line. The black line itself is a principal axis, okay, which where all the reflected rays converge in. Okay, in this case, it's not going to diverge, it's going to converge in. Ataupun dalam bahasa Melayu, titik pada paksi utama di mana semua sinar tuju, okay, akan menumpu selepas dipantulkan. Dia akan menumpu. Example, let's say I have a few ray diagrams that have been drawn here. The purple line, that's all the ray diagram. The moment they are reflected, what going to happen? All the reflected light rays here will be exactly going to converge, akan menumpu ke atas, ke arah satu titik, dan titik di mana dia akan menumpu ni adalah dipanggil sebagai titik fokus. This is the point here. If you look, all the reflected light rays are exactly converging into one point, and the points where it converges in is what we call as a focal point. Okay, clear on that? Next is the definition of focal length. Okay, the next one is the focal length, or dalam bahasa Melayu, panjang fokus. What is exactly focal length? That's going to be quite easy. This is exactly the distance between the focal point and the pole of the mirror. Okay, jarak di antara titik fokus utama dan kutub cermin. Yes, basically you are taking this distance here. That is exactly your focal point. The next point that you need to know here is the C. C is exactly the center of the curvature. Center of the curvature, di mana ataupun apa dia panggil sebagai pusat lengkungan. Pusat lengkungan. So what is exactly pusat lengkungan ataupun center of curvature here? So example, if let's say this is the mirror that you have, I'm just going to highlight with the yellow here. So if this is the mirror that you have here, and if I keep joining the line to form a circle, if I start joining this line to form a circle, there's going to be a center for that circle here. And this center is the C value that we are mentioning. So if I'm going to draw another line here, what's going to happen? The C is exactly the center of the curvature. Whereas the F point going to be somewhere here. Okay, the F point going to be between the C and the pole of the mirror. And always remember, this is very important here. C is exactly equals to 2 times by F. Okay, kalau F dia, katakan F dia sama dengan 2 cm, maka C jadi 2 kali dengan 2 menjadi 4 cm. So if your F value is 3 cm, then 3 times 2 becomes 6 cm. That is the next thing that you need to know about the some important characteristics of a concave mirror ataupun cermin cekung. Now, in this concave mirror, there are 3 rules that you need to know in detail, okay, because by using these rules, we're going to do some drawings here. So the first rule says, the light ray, okay, the first rule says the light ray passing through C will be reflected back on the same direction. So apa maksudnya ya? Sinar cahaya yang melalui pusat lengkungan C, when it's passing through the C point, what gonna happen? Dia akan dipantulkan balik dalam arah yang sama. That's the first rule. A light ray passing through C will be reflected back on the same direction. The second rule says, a light ray parallel to principal axis, okay, sinar cahaya yang selari dengan paksi utama akan dipantulkan, reflected through F, melalui titik F. That is your second rule, ya. Light ray parallel to principal axis, reflected through focal point. Dan yang terakhir, rule yang ketiga pula menyatakan, a light ray through F, okay? A light ray passing through F, okay? Sinar cahaya yang melalui titik fokus F akan dipantulkan secara selari dengan paksi utama, okay? It is reflected parallel to principal axis. So do remember all these three rules here, because by using these three rules here, we will do on drawing of a ray diagram at a different position. Okay, now let's look on a drawing of a ray diagram here. On this case here, we're going to look on a position of our object at a different position. The first one is where the object is placed further than 2F, means I'm going to place the object. This is the 2F point that you have here. The object are placed exactly further from the 2F point, okay? So if you look here, the object is placed further from 2F point. So I'm going to draw the object exactly placed at this point here. Okay, now, so for this, what's going to happen? U is more than 2F. Now, what's going to happen here? We're going to draw a ray diagram to show where does the image will be formed for this drawing here. For that, the first one, I'm going to exactly go with the rule 2 and rule 3 here. Of course, I boleh gunakan rule 1, but I'm just showing you with the rule 2 and rule 3 here. Yang rule 2 ni menyatakan bahawa sinar cahaya yang selari dengan paksi utama dipantulkan melalui titik fokus F. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to draw the first ray diagram, which is going to be exactly a ray which is parallel to principal axis. So I have a parallel to principal axis here. So I'm going to draw a straight line to the principal axis. And then from there, what happened? The ray diagram is exactly going to be reflected passing through F point. So from here, I'm going to draw a line passing through F point. Okay, so that's my first ray diagram using rule 2. By using rule 2. Now, I'm going to draw using another ray diagram by using rule 3. Ya. Rule 3 menyatakan sinar cahaya melalui titik fokus F akan dipantulkan selari dengan paksi utama. So for that, I'm using a different color. Let's say I'm using a blue here, which is a light ray. But before that, I need to extend my line for the mirror here. Yeah? So I'm going to just extend this line here. Okay, now, so a light ray which is from the object, okay, from the object, let's draw it back from the object with a different color. So let's say I'm using a blue here, a light ray passing through focal point F. So from the object, passing through focal point F, okay, will be reflected parallel to principal axis, and therefore I'm going to have another line here which going to be parallel to principal axis. So I draw another line that is exactly going parallel to principal axis. So let's draw the ray diagram. Ray diagram mesti ada arrow. Ya? No arrow means wrong. A light ray parallel to principal axis is reflected passing through F. That is rule number 2. But now, when I draw the rule number 1 and rule number 3, did you guys see there is a intersection point, a point where dua garis ini berjumpa ataupun is exactly bertemu di antara satu sama lain, which is exactly going to be this point. So this is the point where the image is formed. So how do I draw the image? Daripada paksi utama ni, draw a straight line and then draw an arrow downwards sebab dia exactly facing downwards here. Now class, from here, what is the characteristics of the image? Yang pertama, image yang terbentuk ni adalah tegak ataupun songsang. So of course, if you look here, the arrow previously is facing upwards. Now the arrow is facing downwards. Therefore, what going to happen? The first characteristic, image terbentuk inverted ataupun songsang. The next one here, is it a real or virtual? I think in the first part of the lesson, I did mention apa-apa image yang terbentuk di depan cermin adalah real. Anything that is forming behind the mirror is virtual. So in this case, the image is formed in front of a mirror ya. Jadi image dia adalah real. Dan apa jadi kepada size dia pula? Tadi kita gunakan dua kotak ya. We look here, there's a 2 boxes here. But now there's only less than 2 boxes, right? It's only around 1 and less than 1.5 and so on. So what happens? The size becomes diminished. Okay, this will be the characteristics of the image that is formed when an object is placed at a position more than 2f. Okay, now so go back to the mind map that we have here, and let's write down what are the characteristics we had. We had a real image. Okay, we had an inverted image, and also we know that the image becomes smaller, diminished. Now, what is your homework for today? The homework for today here, draw the same thing. Make sure you draw as though the f and 2f is all equals to each other, but place the object at the different places. Yang seterusnya, place the object exactly at 2f. Okay, place the object at 2f and draw and see what happens. Next, draw the object di antara 2f dan f. Find out what happened to the image. Then draw when the object is exactly at f, what will happen, and draw again another ray diagram when the object is less than f. Jadi 4 ray diagram you have to draw. Yeah, the first one is for u equals to f, then u between f and 2f, and the next one is u equals to f, and the last one u less than f. So that will be your homework for today, to draw all the 4 ray diagrams. So